So welcome to an introduction of Warmachine basic game mechanics. There are 7 standard attributes that all models in the Warmachine universe have. They are speed. This is the base movement in inches the model can move and can be affected by such actions as running and or charging. Strength. Part of the equation in determining if you damage a model in melee combat. An addition to strength, you'll use the power stat from your weapon to determine after securing a hit in melee combat if you're doing damage to that model. Mat. This is your melee attack attribute and is used to determine if you hit an opponent in melee combat. We will go over in future slides exactly what goes into that equation, but your mat score is basically your weapon prowess in melee combat. Rat. The flip side of mat, it's the ranged attack and is used to determine when using long range weaponry if you secure a hit. Defense. This is the attribute used by the defender to counteract the mat and rat of the attacking model. Armor. This is how well the model can avoid being harmed after it's been hit. So while the mat and rat is counterbalanced with the defense score, your strength and the power of the weapon is counteracted by your armor score. Command. This ability is not really used in Battlegroup encounters, so it's kind of outside of the scope of what we'll be talking about today. Command is used more for those models that aren't effectively fearless, but all Warcasters and all Warjacks basically fall under a fearless rule. So for this video, it's a little bit out of scope. Warcasters have an additional stat. It's focus. It's used much like mat and rat, but it's used primarily when the Warcaster is casting a spell, and it is juxtaposed with the defense of the defending model. Focus also determines how many points a Warcaster gets at the start of every turn. These are focus points that can be used to cast spells and or allocate special points to Warjacks so that they can do special attacks such as throwing another Warjack or running or charging. Focus also is used to determine the area of control for the Warcaster, and that's, you take your focus, you multiply by 2, and that's the range in inches that a Warjack can be away from a Warcaster and still be given focus points at the beginning of that person's turn. Weapons also have stats. The first stat will be identified by either a sword or something that looks like a musket, and that determines whether or not it's a melee or ranged weapon. If it is a ranged weapon, it will have a range. Sometimes that range will include the character's SP. This is when you use the spray template to determine who gets hit. The rate of fire is the most times that weapon can be fired in a turn. Usually, for instance, a Warjack could only fire once, but if it has an additional focus point and the rate of fire is 2, the Warjack can spend that focus point to fire the weapon again. AoE, a lot of times this will be represented with a dash, which means it's not an area of effect weapon. And again, this is really only used in ranged weapons. But if there's a number there, it'll either be 3, 4, or 5, and you would use the area template, and it represents 3, 4, 5 inch diameter. POW is the power of the weapon. In melee attacks, you would add power to your strength, and that would be your base value before rolling to see if you damage. And again, the strength and the power is juxtaposed by the defending model's armor. The majority of all Warmachine combat can be solved with the following equation. Some character stat plus 2 6-sided dice, the result of that, If it's greater than or equal to some other character stat on the defending model, then it secures a hit, it does damage. The only exception to this that I can think of is for when you're attacking a warjack and a warcaster or anything with multiple values of health points, you actually have to be above the other stat, and that's the number of checkboxes you check off. So let's say the Protectorate of Menoth Crusader wants to hit the Khador Destroyer. The Crusader's mat, and this is in melee combat, the Crusader's mat is a 6. He rolls 2 6-sided dice and gets a 3 and a 5 for a total of 14. 6, 3, and 5 equals 14. The Destroyer's defense is a 10, so the Crusader scores a hit. If you can understand this concept, it pretty much is the basis for probably 80 to 90% of the game, and it's the reason why we'll probably be able to zip through this introduction tutorial and at least get you guys started with Battlegroup combat without taking 10 or 12 videos.